Well, with that, hello and good afternoon, everybody. Welcome in. My name is Andrew Burkham, and I am, I'm your coach, I guess. That's what we're here to do. I'm the founder and CEO of the Idea Training Academy. We are a company that's designed to help people learn about their best selves and build systems to get a little bit closer to that every day. Welcome in. Welcome in. So, hey guys, I wanted to start off today. First and foremost, wanted to start off this week. I wanted to do a Q&A. We're kind of off. It's not my regular day. I usually do this on Thursdays. It's Friday because I had a meeting yesterday that I had to go to, and I've had some good client meetings and things like that this week. So it's been a good week, but because I'm a little out of my normal rhythm, and because it's been a while since I just did a question and answer thing here, I thought that this week we would dedicate some time specifically to answering questions that people had. And so I did put out a call for people to ask questions, and they did. So, busy man. Yes, I have been a busy man this last week, but it's okay. Everything is good. And so this week is going to be all about your questions, or the questions that people asked us. Yay! So feel free, if you want to ask additional questions, you can throw them in. Now I'm gonna I'm gonna drop this in the various chats here. There is the Twitch chat, and here's the YouTube chat. And the caveat is this week's going to be a little bit shorter episode. My daughter, Serenity, this is her last day of elementary school. Her last day ever of elementary school. She goes to middle school starting in the fall. And so today is her last day. Hey, Ali, man, welcome in. It was good to see you today on your stream. I'm so sorry that I was lurking and kind of in and out. I was working the other job right before this, and it's been a day. But it was awesome to see you live again. I hope you said hi to Patrick on my behalf, or that you do the next time you see that guy. It was very, very good to see you live. Juju's is next week. I know it's the worst, right? Kids grow up. They keep doing that. Even though I tell them to stop doing it, they keep doing it. And it's unacceptable, but here we are. So I listen, if you want to drop some additional questions on me, you can drop them right there in that link that I dropped. And let's see here. Let me pin that thing just so you've got it up there, so it's there for a while. But let's get right into it, because again, I'm gonna cut out at about 1:15 my time, because 1:30 they have this thing at the elementary school where they do a clap out. So for all of the outgoing fifth graders, in this case, that's the oldest that they have at this school, they kind of have a celebration of them as they leave. So I want to make sure I'm there for them, and that's 1:30 Pacific time. So we're gonna go probably 15 minutes short today, but I want to get to your questions. Let's get right to your questions. If you have additional things, of course, throw them in there by all means. And if I don't get to them this week, I'll get to them next week. Okay, that's the deal that I'll have. So here we go. Let's start with number one. Question number one was this: how can I create routines that last? Life always seems to get in the way, and they fall apart after 1 to 2 weeks. This is a great question, right? Because this is a big thing that's so sweet. I know it is so sweet, and I love it, and I hate it at the same time style. It's both amazing and also terrible and stupid. So anyway, that's where I'm at today. That's where the dad part of me is today. Let's talk about these routines, creating routines that last. So I said at the top of this that I was in a meeting with a bunch of other coaches on Tuesday, and we were talking about this, and some of them are business coaches, and some of them are life coaches, and they came to me and they said, what kind of a coach are you? And I thought about it for a second, and I thought, well, I'm not really a business coach. I mean, I coach business people, but I'm not really a life coach, because I don't know, I'm not here to be all warm and fuzzy about, how you need to take care of yourself and love yourself, and a lot of the stuff that life coaches do, although, those are important things, but that's not what I do. That's not where I focus. So I said, in the moment, I made something up, and I said, you know what? I'm a framework coach. So as a framework coach, which I think I may have made up, but here's what I think I do. I help people create structures to live their best lives. So I'm not really going to be good at, like telling people, how to do self-care, right? Or I might not be the best person at, sorry, I'm late. No. Oh, well, welcome back from therapy. It's good to see you. I am glad to have you here, Emily. Many welcomes. I'm not going to be the best person to maybe give you a business strategy. I'm not going to be the best person to tell you, like, I'm not a therapist. I like to say I'm not a licensed anything, right? But what I am is I'm somebody who's really, really, really good at helping you see where you need to build structures. It's kind of like if you had a floor, a room that was on the second floor of the house, but there was no staircase to it. And your question was, well, how do I get up to that floor that's on the second floor of my house? My job would be to help you figure out how to build the staircase for that. So that's what I do as a framework coach. So as a framework coach, I'm going to answer this question. What I'm going to say about creating routines that last. The first thing I'm going to say is, as a framework coach, I don't start with motivation, right? Oh no, we got a raid. Welcome in, Raiders. It's good to see you. It's a cycling economics doc, another good friend. We're off to the bicycle and here to get motivated. Off the bicycle and here to get motivated. Awesome. That's amazing, because I was just saying, as a framework coach, I don't start with motivation. I start with structure, right? Because here's the thing. We're talking about routines and how our routines, sometimes they'll fall apart after a week or two. And if our routines are falling apart after a week or two, it's not because we're broken, right? We want to blame that on ourselves. We want to say we're lazy. We want to say that we're, all of those things, all of that self-talk. But it's not because you're broken. Here's why it is. If your routines fall apart after a week or two, and I have been this person in the past. I used to be the person who would make a New Year's resolution every year, and I would not stick to it. And then a month later, I would have dropped it. But guess what? Not that person anymore, right? Dropped 20 pounds in the last year. Spending a lot of time growing a lot of different things, being very strategic about a lot of different things in my life. I have experienced a lot of transformation in the last 2 years. And a lot of it is because of routines. Or we're not going to get motivated then. We're here to get structured. Good. I like that. That's good. That's flexibility. I approve of that. So here's what it is. We talk about routines. I like to talk about disciplines. Y'all know that I have an acronym that I made up. That's IDEA: identity, discipline, execution, accountability. I believe that keeping all four of those things in alignment is the way that you move towards your best life. So here's what I think. When our routines fall apart, it's not because we're broken. It's because our systems aren't built to survive actual life. Do you get me on that? Like we build our routines, or we set our goals, or we set our plans for ideal conditions. But here's the thing. We build routines that like are going to be like the perfect day. I was, for whatever reason, I got into flight simulating lately. Brishkar, many of our mutual friends sent me a flight stick and a throttle thing. And so I've been playing Microsoft Flight Simulator and learning a lot about planes. And so I've gotten really interested in planes and how they work and how they fly and sometimes how they fail. And I was watching a video the other day. They were talking about a couple of pilots who were landing a big commercial airliner, and they got this warning out of nowhere. It's their wind shear ahead, go around, right? Which means, there's dangerous wind conditions. You need to make another pass before you land. And what happened was they got completely thrown off. And one of the guys, the first officer who was in control of the plane at the time, actually kind of like fell into almost a catatonic state, to the point where he was actually doing things in the aircraft that were increasing the amount of danger to the aircraft. And so they managed to get it down. Learning about planes is mostly uplifting, but sometimes also a drag. I like that. That's true. That's very true. They safely got the plane on the ground, okay? So the good news is everybody survived. But as a result, the FAA looked back at that and they said, you know what we need to do? In our simulator training because pilots get, they get trained on simulators. They don't get trained with jets full of people, thankfully. They get trained on these simulators, and they said one thing that we need to include in our simulator training is what we call startle training. So startle training is exactly that. It's include something in the training session that's going to throw the pilot off, right? So when we build our structures, we need to build routines that can hold even when our day doesn't go to plan. We need to include startle training in our routines, in our disciplines, right? Because most people only create the routines that work when nothing interrupts them. But I mean, you and I both know that real life doesn't function that way. There's stress. There's stress in your life. There's kids. There's priorities that are changing. That's not acting on us. It's actually the environment that we live in. So what we do when we're being framework minded is we create routines that are small. And we create routines that line up with our identity. And we create routines that have resiliency built into them, so that they're easier to return to. So here is, and I scratched this out very, very quickly. I just got this morning, so I scratched this out very quickly. But I did put together real quick a four-part explanation of how my framework goes for building, I guess, resilient routine. I didn't mean to give it an RR name, but there you go. It's the resilient routine framework, and I'm going to give this to you today. I'm going to give you a little hack that I kind of use for this as well. But let me give you the four-part framework. So here's how it goes. So if you're taking notes or if you're watching, these are the 4 parts. Number 1, you need to identify you need to have an identity anchor. So everything that we do when we're bringing ourselves into idea alignment, everything that we do has got to start and end from our identity. So you have to ask yourself that question, who are you becoming? Because we don't build tasks, we don't build habits, around tasks. This is the problem that most people have. They want to cure all their problems with behaviors. They want to fix all of their issues with tasks. They want a checklist that they can check things off, but that's not how we start. When we're being framework minded, we start with identity. And so instead of the example that I wrote down here is, instead of going, well, I want to journal every morning, right? Which is a task. That's a routine. That's a thing. Instead, you would ask yourself, okay, well, what would somebody who wants to be more present every day do, right? What would a person who wants to be anchored in the present do every day? So that becomes your anchor, right? Not that I want to journal, but that I want to be somebody who's present. So start with an identity anchor. So even before you go, I know what my goal is. I want to lose the 20 pounds, right? No, it's who do I want to be? When I set aside to lose the 20 pounds, and I've talked about this in the past, I failed at it once. And then when I came back and was successful at it, the difference was, in advance, I said, why do I want to do this? Who do I want to be? And the answer was, I want to be somebody who's healthier, who's going to be here for my family for more than just the next couple of years. And so I anchored everything that I did in identity. So that's the first place. Number 2, this is what a lot of your productivity experts would call, your minimum viable habit. Okay, MVH, your minimum viable habit. What's that mean? It just means this. What's the smallest version of what you want to do that you could do every day? So James Clear talks about this in his book, Atomic Habits, and he talks about the guy who, wanted to be healthier, and so he committed to going to the gym for 5 minutes every day. No joke, 5 minutes every day. He would drive to the gym, he would get out of his car, he would set a timer for 5 minutes, he would do whatever exercise he could do in 5 minutes, he would clock out, he would go home, right? So it's the minimum viable habit. And over time, what happens is you realize, oh, it's not that hard. I can increase that a little bit. And then I can increase that 1%, and then I can increase that 1%. And what happens is when you stack all of those 1% up, over time, you build a habit or you build a discipline that is actually moving you in the direction you want to move, right? Now, here's the other piece, and this is also from James Clear's Atomic Habits. Stack it on something you already do, right? So, like, for example, if we were taking, again, I want to be a person who's present, and I'm going to use journaling as a discipline that I'm going to use to increase presence in my life. So it's like, hey, I make a cup of coffee for myself. I have 1 cup of espresso every morning, and so I make it in our machine. And so it could be when when I pour that coffee, when I make that espresso shot, I'm going to write 1 line in my journal, 1 line, right? Or, like a lot of, I think Clear talks about brushing his teeth, like, right? After I brush my teeth, I'm going to do 1 push-up. And it doesn't sound like you're doing anything. It doesn't sound like you're moving forward. And here's the thing. Brendon Burchard has recently taught me that, the 1% in your life, they're not going to stack up to long-term success. But where I change this a little bit is the 1% may not be how you to get to success. You may need bigger leaps for that. But the 1% in your life, the things that you add up are what prepare you to make the big leaps. So one little thing, what's the little thing? What's the minimum viable habit? And what habit do you already have? Because you already have habits. You already have things you do every day. What can you stack that on top of? Pour my coffee, write 1 sentence. Okay. Brush my teeth. Like repeat some kind of a narrative that's going to set me up for the day, right? Because it's not about, like creating this perfect routine, but what's happening is you're creating this identity signal that goes, oh, well, I showed up in that way. I moved towards the person that I want to be. I made 1 step towards. And the issue that we have is that we get so caught up in going, well, it's not going to make a difference, that we don't do it. We don't do the little thing. And then if we don't do the little thing, we have no staircase to get to that 2nd floor of our house. And so we go, well, it's just too far away. And as a result, we quit. This is why people wash out of their New Year's resolutions. It's because they set the goal, but they don't take the first step on the staircase to get to the goal, right? So number 1, identity anchor. Number 2, minimum viable habit / habit stacking, right? Number 3, friction reduction. Have you thought in advance about what usually derails you? So right? You know the things in your life that derail you. You know that your phone derails you. You know it, right? You know that the other people who are in your house, they're going to derail you. You know what derails you, but the question is, how do you pre-decide for that? So how do you go in advance? Okay, when my phone becomes a distraction, what will I do? When my kids want to interrupt me for the 3rd time, what do I do, right? So maybe you set an alarm. I set a lot of alarms on my phone, or I use the A lady that I won't say her name and set her off for all of you, but I use a lot of alarms in those places to remind me when it's time to do things. 3rd or 300th time, exactly, right? We have kids. We know how this goes. So setting alarms, like maybe it's just putting the journal on your pillow. Maybe that's what it is, right? Like just have it laid out and ready to go. Maybe it's having your clothes laid out the night before, so you're not using that, because okay, I want to be somebody who presents themselves as put together. Well, then maybe don't choose that outfit the day of, right? Maybe pre-decide the day before. Also, by the way, that offloads cognitive processing space, so you can use it on solving actual problems. So that's a really good thing. By the way, here's a secret hack. I select my clothing randomly every day. I have 25 shirts and probably 4 pairs of pants that I have, and so every morning I choose a random number, and that is the outfit that I wear. So the reason that I do that is because I don't ever remember to lay them. See, this is where I'm talking about building systems, right? because I don't have a system around laying my clothing out at night before, so that I'll remember, so I'll offload that from my cognitive processing during the day. So instead, I use a random number generator, and I let it decide. I use it was on top of the pile method, also perfectly functional, right? Steve Jobs famously, right, he had the closet full of black turtlenecks and jeans because he didn't want to have that take up his mind space. But the question really is about, what are you going to do in advance to set yourself up for when you do get derailed? Because again, like James, I'm stealing a lot from James Clear this week, but I like it because he's a systematic thinker the way that I am. He says you don't rise to the level of your goal, you fall to the level of your systems. So make the default path frictionless. And the only way to remove the friction is by knowing in advance what's up ahead. Again, if we're flying the plane, sorry, I'm into this metaphor now. If we're flying the plane, we've got a radar that tells us what the weather is like in front of us, and we've got a plan for what's going to happen in case there's turbulence, right? So make your plan ahead of time for friction reduction. Number 4 is an accountability rhythm. I use the it's clean and will do method unless it's a big meeting. Then I love it. I panic about it for the prior day, then change my mind in the morning. I mean, that's a system. It's funny. I was on that on that call with the other coaches this last week, and I'm like, hey, I was talking to people about, how, I help people build frameworks and systems. And this one guy he's like, yeah, I'm trying to learn really not to shoot from the hip. I need to build systems. I'm learning not to shoot from the hip. And I looked at him and I'm like, hey, dude, shooting from the hip is your system right now. The problem is then that you need to build new systems. The problem is that shooting from the hip is your system. So either you need to program your hip to be really good, like program your instincts to be really good so you can make quick decisions well, or you need to erase that and you need to create a new system. So, again, you've got a system. Maybe it's the best system, maybe it's not. But, I like the clean and it will do system. Number 4 is the accountability rhythm. So the accountability rhythm is around this. How will you stay aware even if you miss a day? All right. So a lot of people measure streaks, like habit streaks. No scope. Let's go. A lot of people measure streaks, my habit streaks, right? Now, I think that's good. I think you should do that, actually. But I think you should be more intentional about measuring your return rate, right? And like reflecting kind of weekly, what worked, what didn't, what do I want to become this week? It's not because you're not measuring, oh, I did this perfectly. You're just measuring that alignment. Like, is that stuff in alignment with your identity? So those are the 4 pieces: the identity anchor, the minimum viable habit, right? / habit stack, friction reduction, pre-deciding things, and then for that accountability rhythm, making sure that you're measuring your return rate. Never miss twice. Exactly. That's what Clear says. Never miss twice. If you miss one day, just don't miss the next day. It's fine. If you mess up one day, just don't mess up the next day. Or it's all about resilience. Now here's my hack, if you will. It's kind of a one-touch rule, if you will. And here it is. But now this requires you to know who you are and who you're becoming first. So once you've got your identity locked in, pick one action, just one little thing that's tied to your identity, and then do it every day. Just touch your identity. Don't let the day end without it. Because what happens is when we don't have a firm lock on our identity becomes about what everybody else wants to tell us that we are. Right? I mean, it could be one line, one breath, right? Like breathing for a moment. It could be one kind word, but just one thing that keeps you rooted, right? Example. So me, for example, Patch, if it's, if my identity is, if I'm trying to become someone who executes, right? Who actually gets things done, then every single day I'm going to start my day by choosing one thing that I'm going to accomplish by the end of the day. And it's not going to be something big. It's just going to be something that needs to get done, something that's important, something that's mission directed. I'm going to choose one thing. Or if I want to become somebody who's less, I don't want to say sensitive, but reactive, right? Because sometimes we get reactive to other people in our space, and we get, sometimes we get overprotective of our own boundaries, and sometimes we get overprotective of other people. So maybe the one thing I'm going to do today is when I feel threatened by an interaction, I'm going to ask one question instead of make a statement. I'm going to ask one question, right? So it's just the one touch rule. One thing, which is one tiny thing that's tied to your action every single day. Maybe it's that one line in your journal, whatever it is, just something that keeps you rooted. Now, I did really quickly throw together a tool around this, okay? So I'm going to give it to you. It is a free download. It will cost you absolutely nothing. I'm going to drop it in the link drop it in the chat right now. This is, and I again, please forgive. It was quick. I did it this morning. But what this is just a routine builder worksheet, and it's like it's a little, I don't know, it's a 5-pager, but I made the print big, so it's really, it's not a bunch to go through. But what it's designed to do is help you identify that identity anchor, and then create the habit stack, and then kind of track things. So it's just a tool for you to use. It's nothing. It's not magical. It's not going to save your life or anything like that. But it may be actually helpful to you. And a lot of these tools, guys, that I develop for you guys, and I release a lot of them through my newsletter. By the way, follow my newsletter at Substack.com. It's not on the page. Come on, Andrew. There we go. AndrewBurkham.substack.com. Please, by all means, go check that out. But I use these tools myself a lot. I'll go back to these things and revisit them. So, So anyway, I hope that kind of answers the question about how we build routines that last. It's not about perfect habits, right? That's the thing, is we gotta stray away from that. But it is about becoming somebody who shows up anyway, right? Even though it's not perfect, we show up. And even the metaphor of that, top of the pile and doesn't, will do style. That's kind of the way that we build good habits. Is okay, well, maybe it's not the thing I look best in. Maybe it's not the most fashionable or the most in style. But you know what? It's clean, and it's going to get me clothed, right? Sometimes that's the most meaningful way to start building habits. Let's go on to question number 2 real quick. I got about 15 minutes left. So here we go. Question number 2. Can you talk about your personal motivation techniques? Whether it be work, streaming, or anything else, it's not always easy to get going, and that's totally true. But here's the truth, right, that I think we often miss, is this, that if we rely on motivation, we're gonna burn out. We're gonna run out of gas. Of all the things I've been accused of, fashionable is not one of them. Agreed, Head of Steel. Currently wearing an Alaska Hawaiian shirt. So you can't rely on motivation. Motivation is a mood. So what can you rely on? You can rely on structure. And I don't mean structure like every second of your day has to be planned out. I mean, again, what are the frameworks? What are the structures that you've created? Right? Because motivation is great when it's there. When you're motivated, feels good, you're ready to go, let's go. But if your life is built around waiting for that feeling to come, you're always going to be behind. It's kind of like love. We think of love as a feeling. It's not a feeling, it's a discipline. If the love that you have for somebody else is just the feeling that you have towards them, then you don't really love them. You're not really in love with them. You just feel good about them. But when you make a commitment to someone else, when you actually are in love with someone, what you do is you make a commitment to that person, and that becomes a discipline. It becomes a daily process of doing certain things, of thinking certain ways. And motivation is the same, right? So I don't wait around for motivation. Instead, what I do is I build systems that carry me when I don't feel like showing up, which happens, by the way, all the time. There's a lot of times I don't feel like showing up. But I do it anyway. Here's I just jotted down a few things that I kind of do, some techniques that I use personally. So the first one is I try and shrink the start. I know that sounds weird, but when I don't want to do something, I um, I take the first action down until it's too small to fail at. So, like a newsletter, I have to write my newsletter today. So, my goal to get that started, because I am not motivated to do that today. I want to let you know, I've got it outlined. I've got it in my head, but I'm not motivated to get it done. So my goal is open the document and write a sentence, right? Or if I got to shoot a video, then it's like just open the camera app and my camera app and just talk for 30 seconds, right? And what happens is once you're in motion, almost always, it's going to click at some point. And if it doesn't click, then you still kept the promise to yourself, which is a win, right? So if I write that sentence and then I got nothing, you know what? I won because I wrote the sentence. I did the thing. If I talk into the camera for 30 seconds and I watch it back and it's dumb, I still won. I did the thing because doing the thing is my victory condition, not like having the perfect outcome, right? So first, shrink the start. Second, it's the future me, right? I write about this in my book, Be Great, which comes out in December. And so when I'm dragging, I am always asking myself, okay, the future version of me, the one that I'm becoming right now, that person that I'm going to be in a year who has gotten all of the coaching, all of the help, all of the resources, all of the success that I want to have, that person that's there in a year, what would he do right now? Because that question shifts my posture. And it goes from me going, oh, I'm not motivated, to going, well, I'm gonna choose to be that person that I am in a year, right? With the version of me that finishes the book, that gets that book published, would he sit back right now? Would he take a break right now? With the version of me that is leading a really thriving community, would he scroll instead of doing something for the community? And the problem with this is that I don't always like the answer. And you won't always like the answer because sometimes it's going to mean doing the thing that you're avoiding. And sometimes it's going to mean, sometimes it's the other way around. Sometimes it's going to mean resting when I think I should be grinding at something, right? And both of those are identity choices, but it's always clarifying when you choose from identity, right? So that's the second one is that future me. Think about that future me. And then the third thing is make it public and do it on purpose, right? Because when I don't feel like showing up, if I make a public commitment, it's a little bit easier for me to not back out of it. So like I schedule a live stream and announce in advance. Okay, so here's a good example. Today, I'm here doing this stream on Friday. Yesterday, I couldn't do it on Thursday. Now, most weeks, I would probably have just canceled the live stream. But there was something about me that said this week, you can't do that, Andrew. You can't do that to yourself because if you do that to yourself, then you're behind. Because next week, I know next Thursday, I have an event that's going to take me out of town. And so next week, I'm going to have to make that same decision. And so, what did I do? I scheduled it for today. But not only did I schedule it for today, I DM'd a bunch of my friends. I think it's most of you who are in the audience right now. I DM'd you guys and I said, hey, guys, I'm going to do my live stream tomorrow. And by the way, I want to do Q&A. And could you please ask me questions so that I have something to talk about? And by the way, thank you all to all of those of you who threw questions in, because obviously you've helped me get this up and on the road. But I put it out there. Now, if I then got all these wonderful questions from you guys and I went, nah, I'm not going to do it. Like, what kind of a jerk am I, right? You want to talk about, am I the what? Like, yes, I'm the what under those circumstances, right? Because I asked you to hit me with questions and then I'm like, nah, it's not important to me. So I made it public on purpose in a way that was intimate and important to me. Because, the people, I send out the messages to you guys and like, you're the people that I don't want to let down. And so I raise the stakes for myself. Sometimes it's like just like the social media posts, right? My newsletter drops on Friday, right? I'll see you then. It's a dumb thing, right? But it's like that post that goes, okay, now when it's not there on Friday, you have to be accountable. It's a lot of it's about committing to challenges. And that's one of the things I've tried to put out a couple of challenges this year. People haven't been tremendously interested, but the reason that I do it is because I really like challenges. They really help me because when I go in and I've got that kind of built-in system of accountability and structure, it really helps me. Sometimes it's good to offload all of that, like having to come up with that structure for yourself. So that's why I really like challenges. I have a free challenge. It's the 30-day challenge that you can go through. Doesn't cost you anything. You can do, I think, exclamation point challenge, and it'll get you a link to that. So it's just that's a thing that I like. Because here's the thing, most of the time, right, when I put my name on something, I'm going to show up, and because I'm dedicated to that, and even when it's messy, right, unless I absolutely can't for some reason, and this works for me because that I've learned to make commitments that I can actually keep to do the things that I said that I was going to do, even when they're imperfect, right? Like I showed up today. I may not be my best self today, but I'm a better self for you than the person who didn't show up for you in the first place. So make it public and do it on purpose. Don't just hope people figure it out. Again, I'm gonna go back to one actually. Track your returns, not your streaks. So I got bad days. I have sick days. I have days when I'm distracted. But if you're measuring your motivation, then you can't, right? It's not a measurable. So I measure my return rate, right? Is like how quickly do I get back when the mission on the mission when I fall off track, or how quickly do I return to the habit when I've stopped doing it for a day? Because that's the muscle that actually matters to build. Discipline isn't about never missing. It's about not quitting. Patch said, "Never miss twice," right? So it's not about that missing so much as it's about not quitting. And then the last one, number 5, is anchor to service. So this is really important, and this is one you probably won't hear a lot of coaches like me talk about, because a lot of coaches like me want to talk about you, and that's one of the reasons I don't like to identify myself as a life coach, because a life coach often wants to talk all about you, all about you, all about you. But here's one of the things that I have learned in my life: the changes that last in my life are the ones that I make in service of something that is greater than me. So when I made the commitment to lose weight and to become healthier, it was with my family in mind, right? When I do this today, right? How did I make it meaningful? I made it not about me. I made it about you guys. I made it to I said to myself, listen, you're not doing this because you're going to have a big audience or, whatever is going to happen, right? You're going to get famous from this stream. No, I did it because I said, I think that there are people out there who need this, and I'm going to be there for those people, right? So when I remind myself that the work that I do, the videos that I do or the live streams or the coaching sessions, right? When I remind myself that those things might help somebody else move forward out of that place that I was, 7 years ago, 8 years ago, where I was really just, miserable, successful, but miserable, right? When I remind myself that somebody else might move from that, then that shifts the things that I do. Because when I don't feel like doing things for me, I am able to do things for other people. And that service keeps me anchored. So much of my own resistance is my own resistance. But thinking with a service mindset takes my eyes off of my own resistance, and it reconnects me to my purpose. And there's one question that I ask myself all the time when it comes to this, and it's this: who needs me to show up today? And the answer to that is almost always enough to help me get to the next step, right? Just who needs me to show up today? So Listen, guys, I think that's about all I have time for because I gotta leave in about 2 minutes to go clap my daughter out of her elementary. I hope some of that was meaningful to you. Again, if that there's the little tool that I put together, it's just a freebie. It's I hope it's meaningful to you. I hope it's useful to you. I would love to talk to you more. There were a bunch more questions that came in this week, guys. One of them, by the way, I'm gonna say is, would you like to have a beer with the lads? And the answer is yes. I can answer that one before we go. I would love that. That would be amazing. But unfortunately, I cannot because I have to go to an elementary school, and they think it's weird when you show up with a beer. So I'm not going to do that. But listen, again, as always, yeah, I hope you got something this week. I will get to these other questions next week. I promise 100%. That will be on Friday as well, because as I mentioned, Thursday I will be at a meeting, but I will be here on Friday when you're back, when I'm back. Absolutely. But I want to thank you guys for showing up, especially on a weird day. And as always, I want to offer you. Thanks, so cute. Later, Tates. You bet. Later, taters. I want to just offer you that reminder that wherever you're at right now, you have the power to decide where you're going. So if you're not in a place that you like right now, the power to redirect your trajectory is in your hands. I would love to be a part of helping make that happen. I will continue to do everything that I can on a weekly basis here. And if you'd like to work with me more, there are certainly ways to get in touch with me. But listen, I want to say thank you again so much to you guys for being here. I hope that you go into your weekend knowing that there are great things waiting for you. And just like I have told my daughter Serenity every single day this year before she goes to school, I love you. Now go be great. So you do the same. I'll see you guys next time.
I've been caught in the whispers, lost in my doubts, tangled in stories I can't live without. But there's a fire, it's burning inside, calling me forward, I can't run and hide. It's not about perfection, it's about the climb, breaking through the limits, one step at a time. With every breath, I'm closer to the dream, a life that's bold, a heart that gleams. Be great, stand tall, rise above it all. Let your light shine through, answer the call. There's power in you, don't hesitate. This is your moment, go on, be great. The mirror's reflection, it shows who I am, but it's just the beginning now.